After a lifetime of researching the dynamic and enigmatic world of light entertainment, I've decided to ditch my notebook and meet the people who inspire me. What makes them the people they are? How do they feel about the show business landscape in which they find themselves? And in a world where anyone can be a star, is there still a need for performers who have universal appeal? Come with me on a journey of discovery as I get a unique insight into Britain's favourite stars with a little help from my glamorous assistants. Yeah, well, I say glamorous, more like hazardous. And of course, we'll have a bit of fun along the way.
Theatrical agent turned television consultant Ian Freeman was born into the world of entertainment when his uncle Lou Grade laid the integral foundations to secure the rights for independent television in 1955. Following in the footsteps of the Grade dynasty, Ian found himself as a theatrical agent working in one of the most formidable agencies in the world under the legendary Billy Marsh. Today, Ian is the treasurer of the Royal Variety Charity, the sole beneficiary of monies raised from the annual Royal Variety performance. I was interested to hear his side of the British entertainment story and get his thoughts on the future of Variety's biggest night of the year. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Ian Freeman. We'll get on to your contribution to the Royal Variety Charity in a second.
Okay.
But you started your entertainment career as a theatrical agent working for London Management.
That's right.
Formerly the Grade organisation.
That's it.
What sort of grounding and influence did this have in shaping the rest of your career?
Well, it was being an agent and learning to be an agent and learning from the very best people in the business at that time. We're talking about the late 60s and early 70s. So the best people at the time in the best agents in the light entertainment business were at London Management in those days. People like Billy Marsh, Keith Devon, Cyril Berlin, they're all sort of legends in their own lifetimes. They're all obviously long forgotten now. But to learn from the best people, it was the best possible way to learn the business. And I mean, I had 2 or 3 years there where I was just working with the top agents and working with top artists. So obviously it was a great grounding. I can't imagine I would have got that sort of grounding anywhere else. And also for a young man, as I was sort of 19, 20 years old, it was a revelation, really. I'd only ever seen show business from the sort of the top end, but actually starting at the bottom and learning how to sell, basically. You're selling acts. It's the same as selling baked beans or bottles of water, it's except, as we used to say, baked beans and bottles of water can't talk back to you. But basically you're selling, and I learnt from the best. So it shaped the way I've operated ever since in whatever career I've been in, and every day I use a piece of information I learned in those days to get me through.
Now, in 2007, continuing your family's long association with the Royal Variety Charity, then the EABF, you became Honorary Treasurer and Trustee. Mm-hmm. Being in a family with so many emotional ties to the charity, what were your initial thoughts on taking up the post?
Well, initially, I was just a member of the executive committee. That's when I went in. The date, I can't really remember, but I could let you know at a later date that. I joined the executive committee just as a member there. And I mean, I enjoyed it and sort of worked hard for the charity and, continuing the family connection with the charity. It was good to be a part of it, and our treasurer, Mike Ford, sadly passed away, and I was approached by the chairman to say would I take over, which I gratefully accepted. I think that was, I'd have to look up the dates, but I think that was around 2013. I became treasurer. And then subsequently I was appointed a trustee. I've got all these dates somewhere, but I don't have them, unfortunately, in my head. But if you need to know that later on, I can let you have that information. So that's just putting the dates right. What was the basis of the question? Sorry. What?
Being in a family with so many emotional ties to the charity, what were your initial thoughts on taking
My initial thoughts were fear, terror, horror, followed quickly by determination to make my mark and to do well, and to work as hard as I possibly could to ensure the well-being of the charity financially, which is my responsibility, and to continue the family tradition, because Bernie Delfont reactivated the EABF as it was then, in the 70s, and I was determined that I would be part of the team that continued the work of the charity and of our care home, Brinsworth House in Twickenham, where we look after 36 elderly members of the entertainment profession. And it's not just performers, we have people there who are behind the scenes as well. And it's Brinsworth House the home is at the very core of what we do. We support a lot of other people in their own homes as well, with helping them to pay some bills and stuff. But the care home is the basis of what we do, is the most important thing we do. So I felt, honoured, I suppose, and proud to be a part of this wonderful organisation, which has been going since 1908. It's not glamorous, I have to tell you. But I can read a balance sheet, and I can... having worked in the commercial leisure sector for a public company for many years, I learned a lot about finance. And I like to think I'm bringing something to the party, that I'm, making a difference and continuing the great tradition.
Brilliant. It's commonly known that the Royal Variety Charity's biggest night of the year is the Royal Variety Performance. Yet the charity does so much more than that. Give us an insight into what else you do in terms of fundraising.
Okay, fundraising is at the core of what we do. And yes, the Royal Variety Performance is our single biggest fundraising event. We rely on it for the good of the charity, and without it we would have a lot of trouble existing. Our other fundraising events include, we have a very good relationship with Simon Cowell and his show Britain's Got Talent, where we receive 15 pence from every phone call vote that is made to the show. That income is also very important to us. It's a 6-figure income each year. Obviously, with technology now and people can vote online, the number of phone calls to vote has cut down, but it is still a major source of income to us, and we're eternally grateful to Simon and the people at Psycho and ITV for tying up with us on this. We hold other events. We hold fundraising lunches. We do one every couple of years at the Royal Garden Hotel, where we have great entertainment and raffles and prizes and everything, and people come to the event. We have smaller events. I mean, just in the home, we have raffles. We have days out. It's very difficult trying to find fundraising activities that are new and different, because everyone does raffles and everyone does, things like that. But we try to find something a bit different. We do shows. We had a show in association with the United Grand Lodge of England, the Masonic Foundation. We put on a show at the Palladium last year, which raised a considerable sum, an old-fashioned variety show, which raised a considerable sum both for Masonic charities and for Royal Variety Charity. That was staged by our chairman, Giles Cooper. It's difficult finding something different to do, but we have a fundraising committee, and they are constantly trying to find ways to raise more money. Raising money is what we have to do.
Mm. Now, I suppose one of the possible criticisms that people could have with the charity is that it could be considered as the elite helping the elite. For those who are unfamiliar with the work of the charity, give us an insight into the people that are supported by the Royal Variety.
Okay. It's a popular misconception that everyone in show business is well off. I mean, we know that. People think that because the public think that because people are in entertainment, they're wealthy. This is so absolutely not the case, as anyone in the business will be able to tell you. The people we help are people who are who have given a lifetime service to the charity, to the entertainment industry, in various different ways, and who are no longer able to support themselves due to infirmity or generally not having family around and are not able to live alone or don't wish to live alone. Those are the people who we will look after in the care home in Brinsworth House. Now, as far as funding of care is concerned, many of our residents fund themselves. They are able to do so. In instances where they're not, we obviously as a charity will help with the funding. We also approach their local authorities to assist with funding. Many local authorities are happy to do that. We have around 100 other people, beneficiaries, who we give grants to, or who will approach us maybe for a one-off because they're in a bit of difficulty. Maybe they've been injured or they're confined to bed, they're ill for some reason, and they're having trouble paying a bill or obviously finding work if you're not well enough to do so. And we'll give grants. In some occasions we give people supermarket vouchers for food. But everyone we look after is people who are not able, through no fault of their own, to look after themselves. And there is no elite there's no one elite that we look after. We rely very much on donations and sponsorship and funding by people in the industry who are comfortably off to help those people who are not.
What is your role in the development process for each Royal Variety performance? Like, when does the planning start for each annual show?
Okay, the Royal Variety performance is planned by our chairman Giles Cooper and our life president Laurie Mansfield in association with our broadcast colleagues at ITV. I'm personally not strictly speaking involved, but every senior member of the charity is involved at some stage with some function of the Royal Variety Performance, because it's a huge thing to organise, and it's a very it's obviously the most important thing we do each year. Planning starts usually in January of the year. Our chairman and life president will meet with the representatives of the royal family to discuss dates and when would be the most suitable time for the show to take place. There will then be throughout the year meetings with ITV, discussions about the kind of artists we want. Obviously a theatre has to be found. That's vital, and we have a very good relationship obviously with Lord Lloyd Webber, who owns the London Palladium, and we try to do it there whenever we can. It's the Palladium is the sort of spiritual home of the Royal Variety Performance, really. So planning starts, well, I said January. I mean, planning starts pretty much the day after the previous shows taken place. So we have that to plan. Artists obviously are selected and ideas thrown around a table between ourselves and ITV. People are approached. We also have, don't forget, we have to plan our after show party as well, which is another source of income for us. It's an exercise really to say thanks to our people and everyone who has worked on the show, but also people, the public pay to come, and we have a fantastic after show party and banquet at the Grosvenor House with more entertainment, and it's a full-time job planning the Royal Show. Tickets go on sale around March or April each year. The show is normally November, December, usually November. Tickets go on sale March or April. They sell out very quickly. We're able to release some more later on. We hold some back because we don't know where ITV are going to want camera positions and so on, and so we have to hold blocks of seats back. later on in the year they release those. They say, oh, we don't need this particular area, so we can sell that. Tickets sell out pretty much as soon as they're put on sale, and then there are people waiting for more later on. It's a long, grueling planning process, but it seems to work.
Why did the BBC stop broadcasting it every other year?
We did a deal it's about 8 years ago now. We did a 10-year deal with ITV to broadcast the show. I think it was just a question, I wasn't involved in the negotiations myself, but I think it was a question of just going to the two major broadcasters, BBC and ITV, and saying, well, guys, you know, how do you feel about this? And ITV coming forward and saying, we'd like it, and we'd like to sign for 10 years. And I think that was probably the reason. There was certainly no arguments or anything with BBC. We're very friendly with the BBC, of course. I think it was just a question of ITV being the first to the table, if you like, to say, here's the deal, what do you think of it? You know, it doesn't obviously preclude us from talking again to the BBC at a later stage.
No. What effect did it have not being on a Saturday night?
Okay, it used to sort of normally be on a Sunday night. Do you mean on TV?
On television.
TV, yeah. Okay. Yeah, traditionally its spot was a Sunday night, actually. And we are obviously, you know, we talk to the broadcasters about when they feel they would like to show it. What effect did it have? Obviously, viewing figures during the week are lower than they are at weekends. I mean, we knew that goes without saying for any show. I think the thing was ITV wanted to have the show spearhead a particular day of the week. They've chosen really Tuesdays now as the data show, although that obviously that can vary year to year, particularly as it's shown in the run up to Christmas, so they don't know what they're going to have then. But I think they saw it as a booster for midweek or early week rather than a secure Sunday slot. We're fine with that. The viewing figures, obviously, for ITV are very important. They have to sell advertising around it, and if they're confident that it will work on a weekday night, then that's fine with us. Absolutely fine. Obviously, a weekend is a sort of natural place for a big variety show, but needs must, and ITV are running a business, and it's not for us to interfere in that.
In what ways has Britain's Got Talent helped to extend the appeal of the raw variety?
Britain's Got Talent has been a wonderful PR bonus for the raw variety, because it's brought the show to a wider audience, particularly a younger audience who may not have been too aware of the show or not interested in it. But the fact that one of the prizes, on top of the £100,000, one of the prizes that the winner of BGT gets is a spot on the Royal Variety performance, has been wonderful PR for the show. And obviously, the income that it provides from telephone votes, the money is fantastically useful to us. And also, thirdly, it gives the show a bit of a lift, because we will have on the show the winner of the only primetime talent show on television. And don't forget, Britain's Got Talent is just part of a worldwide franchise. There are 40 Got Talent franchises around the world, and Britain and America are the two biggest ones, but it gives the show, the Raw Variety performance, some extra kudos as well, because we have on our bill the winner of one of the top talent shows in the world, so it works both ways. But certainly we're very, very grateful for having a relationship that we do with Simon and with Psycho to work with them on Britain's Got Talent. And there's been some terrific performers on there and some terrific young artists, and that, helps us as well.
As a television consultant, what do you believe are the biggest threats facing British television today?
Obviously, if are we talking creatively?
Everything.
Everything, okay. All right, well, technology-wise, obviously, traditional viewing of television is changing. That doesn't mean, luckily, that there's any less demand for product or content, because there is. In fact, there's much more demand for content now. When you look at Amazon making their own shows, Netflix making their own shows, the whole system has changed, but there is still a huge demand and a much larger demand for content. So as far as production is concerned, and for producers and independent producers, the market is much wider and more open than it ever was. So that's a good thing. Traditional television viewing is changing. People are not sitting around of an evening as a family, putting on the TV and watching something live. Time shifting is very important. Obviously downloading, streaming and so on is all very important now. Again, the same applies, although the ratings might look a little bit different. When you think that in the old days, Morecambe and Wise had 35 million people watching their show, and now to get 7 or 8 million to watch a show is a huge figure, and will put you at number one in the top 3 of the ratings. But that is just the way. That's just the way change happens, and change happens everywhere. As far as demand for content is concerned, it's greater than it ever was, and there is some wonderful content coming out of this country now. I mean, terrific drama, wonderful entertainment, great comedy, great sitcom, young writers, young sitcom writers now that are being nurtured by BBC and ITV here, Channel 4 and Sky. So I think things are changing, but for the better.
Now, one of the striking things about your career is that beyond entertainment, you also have dabbled in the leisure industry.
Yep.
Is there a correlation between leisure and entertainment?
Yeah, sure. Leisure is show business. If you're looking at, I spent 14 years in what we called out-of-home leisure. In other words, things you had to go out and do, like going to a restaurant or a bar or a pub or a nightclub or 10-pin bowling or bingo or seaside shows or anything, live entertainment, and yes, there's a correlation there. Leisure is show business. I mean, when we were operating just under 100 nightclubs across the country, to walk into one and see the way our team were operating, it wouldn't happen now. Things are totally different. But if you've got an enormous nightclub, 3,000 capacity, it's run like it's show business. Everyone's on show, the bar staff, the management. You're as though you're in a show, a very big show, and a very long one. Goes on from 8 in the evening till 4 in the morning. So yeah, I think there is a big correlation there, and of course a lot of leisure venues provide entertainment as well. Leisure is show business. It always was, and we always used to tell our people, "Don't forget you're in show business. People are watching you."
That's right. Now, looking back at your career, what is your proudest achievement?
That's a very good question. I've had a plural career. I've done quite a lot of stuff, mostly in entertainment. But I mean, I spent a lot of time in the film industry. But again, we're back at entertainment, aren't we? In the film industry. I think my proudest achievement, and I say this purely off the top of my head, is becoming a treasurer and trustee of the Royal Variety Charity. To me, that is the most important thing I've done. It doesn't pay me anything in cash, but it pays me 100-fold in the knowledge that I'm helping, the knowledge that I'm being of use to people in the profession and to my own profession. it pays me in the feeling that I'm helping. The money, it doesn't matter. That's my greatest achievement. Someone else might say that their greatest achievement was, I don't know, doing some fantastic deal that netted them 200 grand in their back pocket. That's not what I would claim. I would claim my charity work, and I'm also a Freemason, and we raise a lot of money for charity as well. So I like to feel the charity stuff I do, and that's without saying, anyone can throw money at a charity and say, well, here's £1 million. I don't have that ability. What I give is time and effort, and I think that's the thing I'm most proud of, is that I'm able to do that.
Oh, that's good. Finally, what is next for Ian Freeman?
Death. Any minute now. No, what is next is more of the same. I've got some ideas for a new TV show that I'm thinking about with someone else. I've got some plans to do some stuff abroad, maybe in America. But at the moment, it's just keeping my head above, getting on with what I have to do, and making sure that I can make a difference. Because that's what it's all about for me at my age. I'm 67 now. I've done, there's nothing great I'm going to do that I could have done when I was 35 or 40. But what I can still do is help to make a difference. And that to me is the most important thing.
Thank you very much to our guest for being the subject of another Beyond the Title interview. If you like this, why not browse the website and see if there's anything else that takes your fancy. Don't forget to like our Facebook page to receive updates on forthcoming interviews and to see more information about me and what I do. Thanks again, and hopefully see you next time for another Beyond the Title interview.